This is Advertising and Media Communications. We have entered our fourth week, with the last three being the overview first, then the components of media communications when we talked about news and advertising. Last week we talked about media campaigns, and this week we're talking about media technologies. Now this is probably a topic that we all know the most about, being as we are in the electronic age ourselves, and we're taking this class electronically. But we do have three objectives. Of course, we want to be able to describe the types of new media technologies and their role in business communications. We need to be able to select the appropriate media technologies to support business communications goals, and we want to be able to analyze the role of media technology in organizational profitability. What are media technologies? Now, these are really the many different types of new technologies that are available to us that provide us with media. Podcasting, that's audio and sometimes video recordings that we can subscribe to. We subscribe to those through RSS feeds. Now RSS stands for either really simple syndication or rich site summary. That's the mechanism that we use to subscribe to blogging and podcasting. Of course, you know what MP3s are. Search engine optimization is what we do to websites to try to get our website listed higher in a search engine. A DVR, that's a digital video recorder. Many of us have those through our cable system or through our satellite provider. That allows us to pause live TV and record it onto a hard drive instead of using VHS tapes. PDAs or even smartphones are very popular now. GPS is global positioning systems, and blogging is basically that allows just about anyone to create their own website where they provide information in an interactive way to other people. Now, when we talk about Web 2.0, you may have heard that phrase or that term before. That's really kind of a marketing term used for the web that was actually used by, I believe it was Reagan Communications that coined the phrase first. But when the web first came out, which is Web 1.0, that was in the mid-90s, and people would go to websites and they would look at the website and they would read the information or watch a video, and then they would leave the website. Web 2.0, however, is more about collaboration. Instead of reading the information, we communicate back and forth between the websites and the people that host the website as well as other viewers of the websites. Examples of 2.0 websites, blogs, podcasts, Facebook, MySpace, YouTube, Flickr, those are all examples of Web 2.0 websites, and that's really where the name comes from, is that interactivity instead of kind of the push of messages from a website. Now there's kind of a push-pull and a communication. E-marketing has become very popular lately, but it's important that we remember a few things, especially with email marketing. Spam is such a big deal right now. If you send out unsolicited emails, you may get blacklisted, and your whole domain name may get blacklisted. For example, the domain name phoenix.edu, if someone were to send spam from phoenix.edu, there's a chance that all of our emails would be marked as spam, and then they'd all end up in a spam box somewhere, and we wouldn't be able to communicate with one another. Privacy is also a big deal. If you receive somebody's email address, you have to remember that people expect privacy with that email address. Security and viruses are also very important considerations when considering how to e-market to someone. So be sure that you work with IT people to do that. finally, let's talk a little bit about globalization. Of course, the internet has made our world very small. For example, uh, although not our although not in every class, a lot of classes have people from all across the world, not just our country anymore. Well, that's the way the internet is. People from different countries are able to communicate with one another. However, each country has different levels of technology. Some third world countries um, have very little access to internet, and also some countries block different sites from their citizens. So that's important to keep in mind as we communicate with different countries. But outsourcing has also become a big deal because now not only are we able to sell our products to other countries very easily through the internet, people are also able to sell services to us. India has become a real hotbed of outsourced technology for Americans. A lot of companies are using uh, Indians as tech support for their products and services, and there's also Chinese programmers who program websites, and that has become very popular as well. So as we consider this week, think about how these new technologies have helped and hurt the way that we communicate with one another. Finally, let's talk a little bit about measurement and tracking. Um, of course, with the internet, we're able to track who comes and visits our websites. Depending on the technologies on the place that hosts your website, you may know uh, the country where the person's from, the time of day they visited your website, how long they looked at your website, which pages they accessed. So using that information, we're able to drill down to determine the buying pattern of our customers as they visit our websites. So that has become a really important part of um, website e-commerce, understanding how consumers interact with our websites and then with our products. Now what that has created is an information overload. Because there's so much information, people end up getting bogged down in this information, and they and it becomes confusing to them. So they have a difficult time working through all that information to determine how best to use the internet for their company. So that's all that we have for this week. Next week we'll be looking at the future of the future of communications.